Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where people truly believe they can do no wrong and that they're the center of the universe. And in today's episode, we've got nightmare neighbors, fast food thieves, a Karen family getting their just desserts, and one OP shares a post where they're expected to be their nasty mother-in-law slave practically for the rest of their lives. Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories. Don't shake your heads too hard, and as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So a couple of years ago, when I was working my first job at a popular fast food chain, this old woman came in with her grandkids during a very busy lunch rush with a very nasty attitude. The woman's order includes a plate of nachos with cheese and ground beef on it. I tell her the ground beef would be an extra charge, and she gets very upset. She tries to tell me that she gets the meat for free every time she comes in. I apologize, and I inform her that whoever has not been charging her for it isn't following company policy, and that I simply can't give her free food. She says, "Fine, forget it. Just take the meat off. I don't want it." I give her the receipt, and she snatches it from me, dragging her grandkids off to a table. I was very polite during this interaction, and I thought the issue had been settled. The manager wasn't at the restaurant at the time, so I was the shift leader on duty. Otherwise, I would have called on him to handle the situation. Well, a few minutes later, one of the cleaning ladies comes to the register, and she tells me the old woman wants to talk to me. So I walk up to the table, and she gives me the nastiest, lip-curled, mean mug I've ever seen. She holds this plate of nachos to my face, and she yells at me saying, "Do you see any meat on that?" At this point, I'm dumbfounded, thinking, what the F? And everyone in the restaurant staring at us. She then tells me that I've ruined her day with her grandkids, who are sitting at the table staring in horror. She then grabs them by the arms and leaves all the food on the table, uneaten, and then storms out. 10 minutes later, my manager comes back to the restaurant. 10 more minutes later, he calls me into his office and he tells me that an angry woman called the restaurant demanding to speak to the manager. Apparently, she said that skinny little redhead bitch, me, was the rudest, most hateful stranger she'd ever met, and that I shouldn't be working here. During this conversation, while I'm explaining to him what happened, she calls the store again, and he takes the call. I can hear every word she says because she's screaming so loud. She tells my manager if he's willing to hire awful people like this, that he must be just as stupid and hateful, and that she would make sure to have his restaurant shut down by calling corporate. She then says if corporate doesn't do anything, that she would take care of it herself. And then she hangs up, all over a 25-cent pile of ground beef. Some people. Yeah, this is exactly why I don't miss working in fast food restaurants at all, guys. Like, you just can't win with some people. Like, literally, some people are so freaking miserable that they will go out of their way to make life a living hell for workers. And seriously, with her acting all aggressive and threatening, she should have been reported to the authorities. Like, what are you gonna do, Karen? Come back and burn the place to the ground? And if that wasn't bad enough, OP comes back with a comment that says, "I forgot to mention that after she yelled at me, she demanded her grandchildren receive free ice cream cones to compensate for the scene I caused. She's a special kind of crazy." And if you thought that was wild, listen to this next post. So, the day this happened, I went to have lunch at a local place known for their fried chicken sandwiches. I had to sit outside because the place was packed. They have plenty of covered seating and some nice fans, so even though it was 95 degrees, it was tolerable. Anyways, I sit down and already know what I want to order, so even though the table service was slow due to them being super busy, I got my order in on the waiter's first pass. The table behind me was occupied by this incredibly obnoxious couple and their son. I could overhear them arguing about what to order and also complaining about the slow service. They finally got someone to their table and ordered, but with complaints. That poor waiter. Less than 10 minutes later, here comes my food. Upon seeing my food get brought to my table, the dad yells out, "Oh, hell no. That dude got here like 10 minutes after us and he gets his food first? Are you effing kidding me?" Now, at first, I think he's complaining to the waiter, but no, these comments are directed at me. I ignore the comments, but this guy gets up, walks behind me, and then literally steals my plate from the table. He then says out loud, "You can wait, my kid's hungry." The dad then walks up to the table, tosses my plate at his boy, and says, "Eat it." Okay, so here's the thing. This place does spicy chicken. They have like 7 levels of spice, and George likes his chicken spicy. I had ordered the next to hottest option, which is a combination of Scotch bonnet and ghost pepper sauce. Not pure ghost pepper, but it's hot enough to make you cry. And this kid, at his a-hole dad's urging, chows down before I can even stand up and protest, as I'm still speechless at what happened. Like, even before I can stand up and say, "What the F?" This kid has taken a Cookie Monster bite out of a sandwich that's slathered in like a million Scoville sauce. And the freakout is immediate. The kid's gagging and then spitting all over his dad. His mom screaming for water. The people at the next table are jumping up. Plates are falling, and this a-hole dad is screaming at me. That's when I start laughing. I'm just standing there at my picnic table while this circus erupts around me. 2 waiters then come running over, and dad's still screaming. The kid's still wheezing and choking, and mom's full-blown panicking. We then explain what happened to the manager. Anyways, the staff pack up their meals to go and tell them that they're not welcome back at this establishment. The manager takes me inside, gives me a replacement meal, a $50 gift card, and then asks me to please not write a negative review or press charges. What a satisfying post that was, guys, but what a frickin' dummy though that dad was. Like, I can't help but to feel bad for the guy's son being forced to eat that and then having that happen to him. Like, I'd rather have my kid be hungry for like 10 more minutes than eating some random person's order. And hopefully dad learned a lesson that day. My job is quite simple. I work for a small family business with 2 locations, about an hour away from each other. We close at 6 o'clock, so naturally, when somebody comes in within the 5:45 to 6 o'clock window, we let them know we're closing soon. So that said, this guy and his kid come in within 10 minutes left in the day. The cashier up front lets them know we'll be closing soon. One other guy comes in at 5:56, so we let him know we close shortly, but he grabs what he needs. The guy grabs his gloves and cashes out. The other guy and his kid are looking at stuff in the sports department, so I give them the heads up that we have about 2 minutes left. They say, "Okay, thank you." No big deal. At 6:03, mind you, I still have to cash the drawer out and wait for everyone to grab their stuff and punch out, so I can lock the store up. So I say to the father in the nicest way possible, "Hey, we're trying to shut down the shop and get out of here." I only said it because you could absolutely tell he was in no hurry whatsoever. The guy's just making jokes with his son and looking at random things. At this point, we had 10 employees just standing around waiting to turn the lights off so no more customers try coming in. The guy actually gets mad at me and he immediately starts yelling at me saying, "Really? It's not like it's 6:15, so you're gonna do this over a sale?" The guy's kid quietly tells him to stop. I then say, "We're not really worried about a sale, honestly." He then responds, "Oh yeah? You're a real team player, huh? Should I stay and talk to your manager about this?" I respond, "Yes, I am a team player. I'm trying to get my team out of here on time, and I'm the manager." He then says, "Effing unbelievable. Some idiots they hire nowadays. Where's the customer service?" He then starts muttering some nonsensical babble. His kid tells him not to be an ass, but that's when he tells his kid that I'm the ass, as the customers hold all the power. And then he walks to the counter. The cashier then asks the guy, "You all good?" To which he responds, "I'm good." And the guy's obviously not good. And that's when I say, if I really wanted to be an ass, I could not allow you to pay for that. At this point, I wanted him to know that I was doing him a favor by even letting him cash out, as we've kicked out people for far less than swearing at employees. He then says, "Okay, well wait till I tell your boss." I respond, "Okay, did you not hear me when I said I was the manager? I'm right here. We all let you know that we close at 6 o'clock and we gave you plenty of time. Some of us have places to be, families to get home to, and you're the only one in the store who seems to disagree here." The guy buys us $20 gloves and throws the money right at the cashier and storms out. Then, as he leaves the store, he peels off, honking the horn a bunch. I finally close the store down and leave, and it's near 6:30 at this point, but it's whatever. I got to watch a grown man have a meltdown in front of his kid while his kid's begging his dad to stop. I hate when customers think that employees should stay late for them to shop. I've got a dog I gotta get home to, and some employees have to drive 30 to 40 minutes to get home. And one of my coworkers ordered a frickin' pizza for pickup. I'm sorry we don't want to wait around while you look at gloves and sweatshirts and joke around with your kid. Yeah, if I were that kid, I would be frickin' mortified, guys. And honestly, it sounds like, and I wouldn't be surprised, if the kid was put through that many times in the past. Like the frickin' entitlement though. We're the customer, so we hold all the power. In my opinion, OP should have let that guy go through all of that and then denied the sale because the $20 he spent wasn't worth all of that. And this person comments, it probably would have been better for the kid if they called the cops to have him trespassed. Daddy would get to learn that there's consequences to his actions when he acts like a dick. And the kid would know not everyone puts up with daddy's BS. So this happened a couple of years ago when I bought my first house in a chill little neighborhood. Everything was great, except for one thing, my back neighbor who we'll call Rick. Rick's the kind of guy who owns 2 grills, but no shirt. He drinks Coors Light in the driveway at 10 a.m. and he thinks property lines are just a suggestion. Rick also had this massive golden retriever who we'll call Duke. Duke was cool, friendly, but he had a very specific habit. He loved to drop the nastiest logs right in the middle of my lawn. Not near the sidewalk, not behind a tree, but dead center, like it was his sacred spot. Every damn day. The first couple of times, I figured maybe Rick didn't realize it. So I walked over, super polite, and I asked if maybe he could keep Duke on a leash, or at least scoop the poop when it happens. Well, Rick, wearing a tank top that said Weekend Warrior, looks at me dead in the eye, and he goes, "It's all nature, bro. You don't own the earth." So I thought to myself, oh, we're doing that. So I tried the normal stuff. I patched the fence, put in a motion-activated sprinkler, and even tried some citrus deterrent. Nothing worked. Rick actually laughed when he saw the sprinkler, and he said, "Nice try, but Duke's built different." And once again, I thought, cool, I'm built different too. So here's where I get back at him. I start collecting Duke's turds in a Home Depot bucket. I lined it with a trash bag, used a scoop, and added a little water for aesthetic reasons. After about 2 weeks, I had something that looked like a cursed soup. So one Saturday morning, while Rick was out, I took that bucket and I painted the border of his yard. I sprinkled it like fairy dust right along his deck and around his precious fire pit area. He came out later that day, sniffed the air, and he literally went, "What the hell is that smell?" I was sitting on my porch drinking coffee, and I replied, "Smells like nature, bro." But wait, it gets better. We have a neighborhood Facebook group, and I start posting stuff like lost dog poop updates every time Duke hits my yard. I would post something that said, "Found steaming hot dog present near my mailbox. If this belongs to you, please collect your property before it fossilizes. Thanks." I then start putting up tiny little "do not poop here" signs made out of popsicle sticks and toothpicks, complete with glitter and googly eyes all over my lawn. I made them in a weird passive-aggressive haiku form. It would say something like, "Dear Duke the Pooper, this is not your golden throne. My grass feels betrayed." Of course, Rick was not amused. He actually storms over one day and he yells, "Are you trying to make me look bad?" I just blinked and said, "Buddy, I don't need to try." After that, the neighborhood fully turned on him. A couple of other people came forward and they said Duke's been leaving surprises in their yards too. Rick ends up having to build an actual fenced-in dog run and he starts walking Duke on a leash like a normal human. As for me, I still make those little haiku signs for fun. Irresponsible pet owners, I tell you, and I'm glad he got what he deserved. And as a dog owner who despises poop leavers, I approve of all of this. Like, put that person on blast and embarrass the crap out of them. I'm also a huge fan of the haiku signs. Frickin' awesome. And this person comments, "I had a neighbor that did this. After repeatedly asking them to politely keep their dog crap out of my yard, I start picking up the poop, putting it in a bag, and leaving it in their driveway. They still didn't change. So I left the bag on their front porch. Still no change. I finally started throwing it from my shovel all over their front yard. Think a bunch of crap confetti in the grass, flower beds, on the siding, you name it, and it finally stopped." Here's some backstory. This happened years ago. My dad's a high school assistant principal, and when this happened, it was his first year at the new school. This post involves my dad, an entitled girl, the entitled mom, the Karen, the entitled brother, and entitled sister. The original incident took place about 2 months into the school year, and I'm not 100% sure what started it, but either the bus driver accidentally bumps into the entitled girl while he was dropping her off, or he told off the entitled girl for saying something rude. But all we know is she got pissed and she texted her mom about it. Well, mom came out of her home and she starts yelling at him, so he just drove off. The next morning, the bus driver went to pick up the entitled girl, but when he got to her driveway, she wasn't there. The entitled mom, the brother, and the sister were there. He opened the door to ask where the entitled girl was, and that's when all 3 of them board the bus. Her older brother was around 22 years old, and her older sister was in college. These people were all adults, and all 3 of them start screaming at this poor bus driver, threatening him, calling him slurs, and yelling at him. The rest of the kids on the bus were expectedly scared. The moment the 3 of them got off the bus driver sped away. The one thing the entitled family forgot to think about was the fact that there were 4 HD cameras equipped with audio sensors on every bus in our county. The cameras caught everything. The poor dude got the rest of the kids to school and he went straight to the office. My dad was pissed. He got the video feed from the bus and he called the school cop, who called some other cops. He had the entitled mom arrested for malicious harassment, intimidation, trespassing, and a few other things. On top of that, my dad helped the bus driver get back at them. First, he had entitled girl switch to a different bus route, so she couldn't mess with the bus driver anymore. Then he had the entitled brother, entitled sister, and entitled mom permanently banned from the school grounds. And working with their lawyer, my dad got statements from most of the kids who were on the bus, and they decided to press charges against only the entitled mom and the entitled brother, who apparently had been in the middle of a 6-month probationary period for a different crime, so he was essentially guaranteed jail time. Going into the trial, nobody expected the entitled mom to get any more jail time than a week, if that. My dad, the principal, and the school cop were all in the courthouse, just in case they need to be called as witnesses. They weren't. Their lawyer made his remarks, and entitled mom's lawyer just tried to reduce her sentence. The judge surprises everyone when he gave the entitled mom a 30-day sentence. He made it very clear to her that she had threatened the life of a man, endangered kids, and trespassed on school property, for no reason besides that the bus driver had told off the entitled girl, and that she should be punished accordingly. My dad and the principal were trying not to cheer, but that wasn't even the best part. The entitled brother had skipped his trial. They were back-to-back trials, so there's no way he could have forgotten. The judge immediately issues a warrant for his arrest. He was caught the next day in entitled mother's house, and when brought in front of the judge, he was given a year in prison for breaking probation, skipping his trial, and for the same charges as his mother. If that isn't justice, I don't know what is. As for the entitled girl, she switches schools. To this day, my dad's told this story to almost everyone he knows, as he finds the almost instant karma hilarious. Yeah, not only is that instant karma, but justice was served. Like, who are you to gang up on a bus driver all because your child was being a brat? And for the mom to allow that to happen, I'm glad she got 30 days. As for the brother, I know petty criminals aren't known for their good judgment or logical thinking, but how dumb do you have to be to break probation, skip the trial, and then just sit around at your house as if nothing happened? That said though, nothing was said about the entitled sister who was with them, so I wonder what punishment she served, or did she get off scot-free? So there's a family who lives 2 doors above me in an apartment block who've managed to piss off everyone by having a massive party that got out of control 3 months ago. When I got home around 5 p.m. from the gym, I can hear them on their balcony making a ton of noise. I push it out of my mind and go about having a shower, making some dinner, making the dog some dinner, and then watching Netflix, and then getting ready for an early night as I have to be up at 3 a.m. I put some earplugs in and then close my eyes and drift off to sleep, and that's when a massive crash wakes me up. I sit up in bed and groggily check my phone. It's only 10 p.m. So I make my way from the bedroom to the backyard. And to get to my backyard, you have to open a big glass sliding door, which is also surrounded by floor-to-wall glass windows that allow an unobstructed view of the backyard. I open the door and I see a soccer ball just sitting there, and a fresh imprint of the ball on my glass window. Someone's thrown the ball down into my backyard and hit my window at force. I look up at the noisy neighbors on their balcony, and there's 4 kids screaming at the top of their lungs and throwing various bits of debris into my yard. Plastic bottles, tennis balls, all that stuff. I yell to them saying, "Hey, be quiet please, I'm trying to sleep." The kids rush inside laughing. I go back inside, only to hear them rush back out and continue throwing stuff into my yard and yelling. Fuming, I jump into the elevator, and I make my way up 2 flights and knock on the neighbor's door. I hear muffled voices giggle and say, "Shh, he's outside," followed by more laughing, but the loud yelling and music continues. I knock again loudly, nothing. I then make my way back downstairs, and checking my phone, it's now getting close to 11 p.m. So I call the police, and I explain to the officer who answers about the noise level. I also tell them about the screaming kids, and the fact that they're throwing all types of stuff into my yard, potentially damaging my property. I also point out if he runs my name and address, he'll see previous complaints against these people. The officer confirms that he's seen several complaints from me and the other tenants in the building. As he's looking up past complaints, he asked, "Is that them?" as he can hear the screaming and music. I say, yes, to which he says, "I'll send a car over right now." It's now 11:55 p.m. I go to the front security door and ring their buzzer. I can hear the obnoxious voices, and that's when a woman picks up. She says, "Hello?" I say, "Yeah, keep it down please, it's almost midnight." She says, "Who is this?" I respond, "It doesn't matter, just keep it down please." The woman then laughs, and someone turns the music up even louder. I ring their buzzer again, and a young male voice answers saying, "What?" I respond, "If you don't stop, the next call's to the police." He then says, "You can threaten us all you want, we don't care. We have friends over and we're gonna be as loud as we want for as long as we want." So frustrated, I go back down to my apartment and wait for police. By the time the cops come, it's 1 a.m. I'm annoyed it's taken them so long, and the upstairs neighbors are still raging on. I open the door and await the officers as they make their way down. Immediately, they're sympathetic. They can see I'm exhausted and they hear the noise. I explain everything to them. He then takes my statement and asks what apartment number they're in. He then bids me goodnight and heads up to speak to them. I hear them knocking on their door. No answer. The police says, "It's the police. Open up." I then hear the door open and music's finally turned down. And what ensues is a 30-minute argument of the neighbor saying that they live here and they can do whatever they want. The police quickly shut them down, saying they're disturbing the peace and violating various other codes and laws. The police finally leave at 1:45 and there's silence in the apartment block. 2 days later, I'm heading out to walk my dog and I can hear someone pressing the buzzer over and over again. I get to the front security door. It's the male that answered the buzzer that night. He's holding coffees and he's obviously locked himself out. The guy looks really annoyed and he's probably been there for ages. The guy sees me coming and relief washes over his face. He's probably thinking to himself that he'll finally be able to get through the locked security door as I make my way outside. Well, that's what he thinks. I crack the security door open and let my dog go through first, and then I slip through quickly. The guy bends down to pick up a small bag of goods, and as he's about to walk through, I slam the security door, locking him outside. The guy literally stands there shocked, and he's pissed off screaming at me. I smile down at my dog, and we go for a very long walk. Take that, you jackass. Oh, and they were evicted about a month later. That's my nightmare neighbor story. I hope you enjoyed it. Good frickin' riddance is all I can say. Like a neighbor that sees nothing wrong with disturbing others, acting like a D-bag, and aren't afraid of cops and the law is not somebody you'd want to live by, period. And listen guys, I don't know if it's me or this is something that happens as we age, but I've started to notice that as the years go by and I get older, I literally have super low tolerance for BS like this. Like I'm becoming the person who hears a loud car with loud music outside my neighborhood at midnight and I'm peeking out my windows thinking, shut that crap off. So yeah, these neighbors would have driven me bonkers, guys. Again, good riddance. So my fiancé suddenly moved his mom in without discussing it with me. The guy knows his mom has been cruel to me. The woman has bad knees and a sore foot, and she insists on sleeping in our bed until she gets her bed moved in. And she's demanding several elaborate meals a day. My fiancé doesn't cook, so I would be the one doing it. The thing is, I work full-time, and I have a heart condition that she's well aware of. Last night, they both had the nerve to say that I should be hospitalized 24/7, or at least under supervision if I did have a serious heart condition. She's also making him pay for a stair lift because she won't use our stairs due to her knees. She also calls her boss all the time. The entitlement and cruelty is completely out of line. She's even thrown some of my stuff away to make room for her stuff. And she gets mad when I don't come running every single time she calls for something. I feel like I'm being forced out of my home. I'm staying with family right now because I can't handle it anymore. He and his mother are set on living there together permanently. He feels obligated to take care of her because, quote, he's the only man left in the family, and she's my mom. He's threatening to end the engagement if I don't come back and dedicate my life to taking care of her. I feel like I've just been tossed away like garbage, so am I the a-hole for considering leaving this person? Listen, in my opinion, I don't think OP would be the a-hole at all if she did leave, because clearly this isn't a life she wants to live. Like, just be glad he did all of this before they were legally married. And seriously, if he's threatening to break off the engagement if OP doesn't come back and dedicate her life to his mom, maybe take that as a sign. And honestly, I would pack my things and never look back if I were given that ultimatum. Especially if it's like surprise sprung on me. Oh, well guess what you get to do when we're married? Help take care of my mom for the rest of her life. Doesn't that sound like fun? Oh, and she'll also treat you like garbage. Guys, let me know your thoughts. Like, I know it might sound harsh and heartless to say, but let him figure it out. You only get to live one life, so why live a miserable one? And that, my friends, brings us to another end of r/entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/malicious compliance episode, where psycho bosses are getting taught lessons they won't forget. Guys, go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.